Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day. Hi, it's Eleanor,
And this is Kalina.
and welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That, where we are continuing our special little mini series about the hit HBO show Euphoria.
Remember a couple weeks ago when I was like, "Oh my god, we're doing so well at like doing these on time and regularly." And then I don't want to
We
say I
weren't.
jinxed us because I knew this was going to happen. Because I've met us and now we're not anymore.
This time, thankfully, it was more of like a technical whoopsie that was for the most part beyond our control. Um for the most part. So this is definitely not our second time recording this. We just had to take a little snack break for a couple weeks. Um we had a lot of trouble opening up a Jolly Rancher, which is a callback from how this episode opens.
I don't think it's a callback if you haven't mentioned it yet.
Well, it's a callback for people who have seen it. And I don't think people are going to get to episode 8 of this series without at least
Fair.
knowing what Euphoria is.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, like Eleanor
Um,
said, this does open with Rue trying to open a Jolly Rancher. Um, I think that this show is like filmed very nicely and it's very cool, but like some stuff is just so it's almost pretentious. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think Colleen and I talked about this in the last episode, but Rue is sober uh, for this, and I believe that she's still going through withdrawals. Well, I believe she is still going through withdrawals because at the very tail end of the last episode,
Mm-hmm.
she got, um, I was going to say knocked up, but I know that's not right. She got
No.
shot up
Yes.
with drugs, not with. Anyway, so she's coming down from drugs again.
Mm-hmm.
And the show does this thing where, like on a normal episode, it's filmed almost in like a dream-like way, um, because obviously our narrator is incredibly unreliable because she's
Mm-hmm.
on opiates. Uh, but now it's almost like painfully,
Like
especially
real
this scene.
time.
Yeah, it's like painfully real time. It might even be slowed down because
Of her
Rui's not
perception.
having the best time.
Yeah.
She does fight with this Jolly Rancher for probably 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I guess, it represents the eternal struggle between um, being. Anyway, and then our favorite man, I couldn't think of anything for that. I came
That's what I
in
was saying. Like, if
guns
you isolate
blazing.
some of this stuff, right? You're like like her trying to open the Jolly Rancher is a metaphor for something, and then when she finally does, and like to be fair, I did write that as a joke, and then it came to be true because we watch her try and open this Jolly Rancher for like 5 minutes, and it's like a close up on the Jolly Rancher. Her mom comes in the kitchen and fills up a glass of water, and it's a close up on the glass of water overflowing, and all like just dragged on forever,
It's
and
definitely
then
like an old west duel scene that has
yeah,
been dragged out forever because they don't know how to edit things yet, but
yeah.
between a young lady and a Jolly Rancher.
Exactly. But then we get another scene, and it's Rue standing up by the table, and you can tell it's a different day. Um, in between all of this, we get like this little voiceover of Rue talking about like how she wishes, she likes with going to a hospital because they care about you no matter they don't know your history or anything, they just care about you. Versus she has to go through withdrawal with her mother, and then she talks about like she goes, I wish I could say I didn't mean any of it, but I thought it, I felt it, I said it. And I won't get on my high horse about what she said to Ali again, but it was bad.
Yeah, she was not nice.
No. But then we get another shot of her standing by the table, and there's a Jolly Rancher sitting on the table again. And you're like, oh, she's going to go through this again, because she, like, looks like she's, like, pumping herself up to do something. But then she sits down, and she calls Ali and apologizes to him, and they have, like, a little conversation, and he forgives her. And then, after she hangs up the phone and all relieved, she can open the Jolly Rancher. Tell me that is not just... Listen, if you cut out the middle bit, that's just a short film. Actually, if you leave the middle bit in and just cut out the context,
Yeah,
short film.
even... I don't think, like, for the most part, she talks in specifics about how she, like, what exactly she said to her friends or, like, how she
Nope.
hurt her friends. But honestly, yeah, cut out the specifics of, I hurt them yesterday when you couldn't see. Boom.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she talks about withdrawing, which is general enough, and like we get shots of her mom taking care of her, but it's all like random, like
And
different times,
and she, like, does identify her mom within the scene, so, like, we don't even need to be, have to have prior knowledge of her being with her mother.
It all takes place within the house. Like I think every shot is her in the
Most
in
of
the
it is, like,
house.
in the kitchen, I think.
So like, listen, that's a student short film right there. That's like a final year project. Poof.
There's enough close-ups for it to be, to have that one student who's all about close-ups.
Not that we know anyone like that.
Nope. Also, I would like to note that my notes so far have been Rue versus Jolly Rancher, and then Kalina loves Ollie. Let her take this one.
Lovely, because my note is I love Ali. He comes over after she calls and apologizes. We got the little title screen, and then Ali comes over one night to their house to cook dinner for the Bennett family. But he kicks her out the kitchen, and he kicks her mom out the kitchen, and it's him and like Gia cooking together. But listen, this man is so handsome, and he can cook, and
he's the
Rue for
only
awful
person
thing.
in the whole series who has ever seemed to care about Gia.
Exactly, because Gia understandably is upset with Rue, and I think everyone's like oh my god, Gia, how dare you. But like I think it's very fair that Gia is not exactly necessarily happy with Rue, are the most trusting of her.
Yeah, like, it's understandably, in the grand scheme of things, Rue right now probably needs a little bit more help than Gia because she is not, like, actively withdrawing. But it's not like Rue was only mean to their mom and Gia had to just hear about it third hand. Gia had to witness it and was in the crossfire. And also, no one has given her a hug the entire first season and then the entire second season, except for those creepy boys in, I think, season 1 who just wanted to get her high.
Yeah, and then now she's watching this. So the person she loves, her sister, was mean to her, and now she's watching, or she still loves her, and then she's watching her sister go through withdrawal. That's not fun. And like they're having dinner, and they're talking about rehab, and Gia's kind of obviously skeptical about Rue like getting better. And Gia's like, what are the chances? 5%. And Ali's like, yeah. And Rue's mom is getting upset with Gia. And Ali's like, that's fair. How many promises has Rue made to say she'll be better and she's gonna stop doing drugs? Yeah, not just to Gia, to you too. How many times has Rue been like, this is the last time? And it wasn't the last time. It's totally valid for Gia to be like, maybe this isn't the last time. Because remember when she said that 3 times already?
Mm-hmm. And like, yes, you need to have hope that your sister is going to recover and going to get better. No offense to Rue, she has not shown that she has the desire to do that, which I think, is the most important part, because she's not going to get better because other people are telling her to, which she has like directly expressed in the past that she is content killing herself over this. Like, shockingly, not everyone is content with that.
Wanting her to get better and trusting and believing that she will, 2 different things. And they can exist. That's what everyone treats Gia like. She doesn't want Rue to get better. Obviously she does. It's just Rue also has to want to get better, and I don't think Gia believes that part.
Exactly. Like, it's not, this is kind of a bad comparison, but it'd be like if Rue was, diagnosed with some illness that was probably going to kill her. Obviously, you don't want to resign yourself and say, oh, yeah, this thing is going to kill her. But, you know,
Like, chances are.
after a point, you kind of need to be realistic that.
Yeah. What is it? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, you know?
Exactly.
Anyway.
But also be
we're
nice to Gia.
head of the Gia support group.
We
here.
really, truly are.
Well, actually, it's Ali and then us, and then literally no one else, apparently.
I've seen like 2 tweets that are like, Gia needs better. And you know what has a lot more engagement? The tweets that are like, maybe we shouldn't be mad at Cassie.
We should be mad at... Oh, my goodness. I keep seeing those tweets that are like, what's your Euphoria, like, what's your worst Euphoria take? They're cancelable Euphoria take. But every one I've seen is reasonable.
Yeah.
I retweeted one that, like, I think we've said, and I agree with wholeheartedly, which was like, why is Rue's mom acting shocked that her daughter behaves like this? Like, she doesn't leave her kids unattended all the time. None of the parents on this show are good at being parents. Full offense.
No. Like, I think Jewel's dad is...
Jewel's dad is, yeah, he's okay.
He's the best of the bunch.
But we don't really get to see him enough.
No, we don't. I think Cassie and Lexi's mom tries her best. Mm-hmm. She is not the best, but I do think her heart is in it.
Her
heart is also at the bottom of the wine bottle, but her heart is in it.
She means well. It's just, yeah, her best and everyone else. To be fair, I don't think everyone is doing their best except for her, but unfortunately her best and everyone else's best are very different things.
Yeah, she does have some things impacting doing her best, but like even I would understand it a little bit more if Euphoria at least showed us kind of what else Rue's mom was doing. But really, we kind of vaguely from a song have the knowledge that she has a demanding job. We know that they have, like, you know, money problems because I'd imagine they have a lot of medical debt. She went from being, you know, 2 parents to 1 parent in a fairly short time span. Mm-hmm. But, like, we've seen her at home just on the phone to somebody else more than once. Spend that time making pancakes with Gia, or...
I found the tweet. I'm sorry. I was looking for this tweet about Rue's mom. I didn't want to misquote this person. The person said, I'm likely going to catch heat, but why is Rue's mama surprised and acting like she did everything for Rue to be set on a solid path, like she didn't rely on an 11-year-old in charge of giving opioids to her father alone and being his caretaker? That is from Dominion Bob on Twitter. Thank you. And then they said, we also said this, like, did they not have any family, friends, or relatives?
Exactly. The funeral was a pretty hoppin' place. Ask one of them to come over. Back if you're
Lexi.
Already $100,000 in medical debt, spend $30,000 more. Get him an aid. It's not going to make it easier to pay off. It's not going to make it harder to pay off.
Like, even back to Lexi and Cassie's mom, she's not the best. You could have stuck her with a parent who was there, because whatever you say about Lexi and Cassie's mom, she is there.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, she is an alcoholic, but she does seem to, I don't want to say be smart about when she drinks. I don't think she would have been okay with Rue stealing the opiates, and I don't think she would have stolen them herself, which is already miles ahead of 12-year-old Rue, 11-year-old Rue.
And, like, if she was, let's say she was stealing alcohol, I feel like she would have noticed, versus Rue's father, who I don't blame him because the man was dying, didn't really notice if a couple of his pills went missing.
And honestly, a drunk adult is better than an opiate-addicted 11-year-old. Which is a crazy thing to have to say.
Anyway, we're going to be here all day talking about that, but, like, Rue's mama has common sense, okay?
Okay, so Ollie comes over.
Yes.
They're making dinner. It's a cute little scene. They tell Rue that she smells. Rue was like, but like she looks like she smells. Sorry.
Yeah.
She looks like she has not showered. Well, she usually looks like she has not showered in a while. It's way worse now. But it's a cute little scene. I think that puts a pin in Rue for now. Am I right,
Yeah.
Kalina?
Then we get like a little shot of the most insane person I think I've ever encountered in any sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And and then we get Nate like looking at his phone, and Rue's doing the voiceover, and Rue's like, it wasn't the missed calls from Cassie that scared him. It was that there were none from Maddie, which, like, that's fair. And he was talking about how,
Yeah.
like, Maddie's, like, what he loved about Maddie was she was so loyal. So, like, now that she's done with him, she's really done with him. And we see that she still has the CD.
The tape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tape of his father and Jules. But, like, Nate didn't realize his whole world was imploding, because when he works out, he turns his phone off. So he, like, works out and goes and has breakfast with his family. And then after this, he, like, has, like, 70-something missed calls from Cassie, but none from Maddie. And he's like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I'd imagine he could guess that something possibly happened between them.
And then we're watching Maddie, and Maddie's on the phone talking about how she wants to commit a murder, and Kat's on the other end going, yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah. She's like she's very specific about it. She says something like, I want to plan and execute a crime so bad they're going to talk about me for years.
And like 3 times in a row, Kat goes, no, that's fair. Yeah, no, that's fair.
She should not do
is.
it, but like that's fair.
That is fair. And then she says what she says about, like, I want to plan like such a gruesome, or they're going to talk about it. And then we cut to Kat, and she's in the middle of this restaurant with Ethan sitting across the table from her, just on the phone with Maddie, laughing about, and Maddie, she's like, you can't do that. And then the waitress like comes over, and she's like, are you guys ready to order? And Ethan's like, she's on
Just
the
one
phone.
second.
Yeah. Just give us a
And the
minute.
waitress is like, we really don't want you to have your phone, Ellie. We'd really rather you not. And poor Ethan is just like,
And Kat keeps talking, and Ethan goes, yeah, it's gonna be a he's like, yeah, no, I totally understand that. And the waitress is like, I'll come back. I'll circle back around to you guys.
And Ethan's like, yeah, thanks. And then, best scene.
Insanity.
So, essentially, here's what happens. Kat finally hangs up the phone. And Ethan is like, hey, I missed play rehearsal for this. I'd imagine it's kind of important. What's up? And Kat, doesn't really acknowledge that he is missing something important.
Yeah, he's like, you sounded like you said this, like, it seemed kind of urgent when you called. And she was like, did it? And he was like, yeah, you made it seem like it was really important. She was like, oh, I don't think so.
She's like, pfft. And Ethan's like, oh boy. And in Ethan's mind, okay, put yourself in Ethan's shoes. Your girlfriend hates you, and she's not good at hiding it. He knows a breakup is coming. And then Kat looks at him and is like, okay, dude, you know what? This is what you want to hear. I know this. We can like see her hyping herself up. And she says, I have a brain disease.
No. The first part, she goes, I've been thinking about our relationship. And Ethan's probably like gearing himself up for when we should end our relationship, right? But she goes, I've been thinking a lot about our relationship, pause. And I have a brain disease. And he goes, you've been thinking about our relationship and you have a brain disorder?
Mm-hmm.
And
like, she
yep.
doubles down. And Ethan is like, dude, look, if you want to break up with me, I get it. You do not need to invent a brain disease to be able to break up with me, because I am in this relationship as well, and I know it's not necessarily going as well as you would want it to. You do not need to make up a terminal brain disease.
What?
Here's the key thing. Ethan says the word terminal. Kat does not say the word terminal. But Kat runs with it.
My thing is, what is her long-term plan? Is she gonna, because she goes, right? She goes, she talks about, and he's like, you've been thinking about you have a brain disorder and you've been thinking about your relationship. That's what you wanted to tell me. And she's like, yeah, I just, I was thinking about the hospital visits and I might have to, come out of school and it's just gonna be really hard. And Ethan's like, I feel like you're lying to me. Which, like, that's fair. I think Ethan and Ollie are like the two people who have sense in this show, right?
Uh-huh.
And but like, what was her long term plan, to just stop coming to school for a while and fake a brain disorder if he believed her?
Well, I don't know exactly where we are in the timeline, but we've got to maybe be close to a school break or something. So I'm thinking, shaves her head and then
she
comes
goes, "Oh
back
my
to
God, it's
school.
cured."
Yeah, exactly. The one thing that I will admire Kat for, besides that whole scene, which is comedy gold and hilarious, she stuck to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know how sometimes people, like, when they're lying in shows, they make like a show like of like, you can tell on their face they're coming up with it on the spot. Whereas Kat's face, I have to say, the entire time was like fully committed to the bit. And then my favorite line in this is Ethan. She goes, yeah, he goes, I feel like you're lying to me, and she says something like, that's your experience, and he goes, no, that's the experience that I am having, because he was like giving her an out. He was like, if you want to break up, that's fine.
He was
Just tell
so
me you
patient.
want to break up. And she was like, oh my God, no, I don't want to break up. Why would you say that? And he's like, fine, then I want to break up. And she was like, oh my God, why am I not surprised?
It's like, you want to break up with somebody who has a brain disease?
Da 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 da. But she was fully committed to it, and at the end, Ethan was like, okay, whatever, yeah, I want to break up with you. He gets up and leaves, and then immediately on her face she's like, oh my God, I don't know why I just did any of that.
You could tell that she like blacked out during it. But you know what? No other female character, no other male character, no other character committed to anything like she.
No,
imagine
listen,
if Cassie had that much gusto in denying that she slept with Nate. It'd be a whole different show.
No one would listen. Everyone would have been like, damn, Rue's really high right now, and then that would have blown over.
I saw one tweet that was like, it says something that Maddie just believe Rue like that. We should see more of their friendship. I'm not convinced they have more of a friendship. I think Cassie was just that bad at reacting.
Yeah, I saw a lot that were like, oh, Rue and Maddie are best friends. I think they're friends, and like we've seen Maddie be a good friend, so I think Maddie does care about Rue, but like, one, to be fair, unfortunately, not shocking that Cassie did that. Like, I think Cassie's not the type to betray her best friend, but like Cassie sleeping with the first man who gave her attention when she was sad, not surprising.
Believable, yeah.
And then, yeah, also Cassie's reaction just gave it all away. Rue could have been lying about anything else, but just the way Cassie responded, I would have been like, nope, I trust Rue.
Yep.
Speaking of Cassie,
we go to the Howard household. Cassie.
And Lexi's got her little hair and rollers, and she comes to the kitchen, and her mom gives her a bowl of knives to go hide in the bushes because she's worried Cassie's going to hurt herself. And Lexi was like, are you serious? And her mom is like, yes, hurry up and go put these in the bushes.
Which, again, if Rue's mom had done that with Rue's dad's opiate.
You see, this is further support for Rue should have gone and stayed with the Howards. Because, like, listen, is this the best idea ever? Is it, like, logical? No. Is she, like, taking action to protect her children?
Yes, she is trying her best. And we also get just a weirdly cinematic shot.
Oh, yeah.
Lexi just
standing in the bushes.
Hiding. He has, like, a knife block and just going, okay.
It's not even a knife block. Her mom literally took a giant bowl and stuck every knife they own in it. And so she's just holding this big, like, salad bowl with knives sticking out. And, like, looks like she's rethinking everything about her life, which is fair.
But she probably is. She's probably like, okay, I'm going to move out tomorrow.
Rue's little voiceover transitions nicely. Like, she kind of walks us through what Lexi's thinking, which then transitions over to Lexi and Fez hanging out. And as you know, this show also is dubbed the Fezco Fan Club by me and Ella, because we love Fezco. And he has, I think, the best line, and something I've said before, because Lexi's talking about how like she's worried, she's writing her play, and she's really worried, especially with Cassie, how she is now, that people's feelings are going to get hurt. And Fez goes, sometimes people need to get their feelings hurt.
Which is true.
It's true.
And Cassie, one of those people at this point.
I don't want to like spoil the play, but I will say that like people were like the characters in the show were upset about things that were happening in the play, and in Lexi's defense, like maybe she shouldn't have put them on blast, but it's not like Lexi made up anything that it's not like Lexi was like, oh my god, you tried to murder puppies. Like, she didn't make anything up. She just changed the names and then just wrote down things that you all actually did.
Yeah. Honestly, she made them just a little bit more vague to give herself a little bit of it. There's one scene in particular that we'll talk about this later, but people are always like, Lexi shouldn't have put this in the play. I know it happened, but shut up.
Maybe the person shouldn't have done that. Did they think about that?
Control yourself at a carnival.
And then Fez goes, you should include in your play me beating up Nate, which I agree. Definitely should have put that in there.
That should be the whole play. The play should just be 3 hours of Fez beating Nate up again. With that just different angles.
Was so slow and really cinematic. I want a really slow cinematic version. I want withdrawal route to replay the Nate fight.
And give us like everybody's thought. Yeah.
Not to jump on the train. They're cute. They're so cute together. Nate beating up Fez, very cute. But Fez and Lexi, so cute. They're like, I think part of it is neither of them like could use the other. Does that make sense? Like, there's not like they're not coming into the relationship saying, "Oh, I can get this out of it,"
And I think it's also part of it is that this is one of the first times we kind of get a deep dive into either of their characters, and I think it's just really cute that they're doing it together instead of like Rue telling us about them. But Rue, they are cute. Cassie's so insane.
Okay.
I don't even remember what she said. But I just wrote, Cassie, shut the bad word up challenge. She should take.
I don't know what she said either, but what happens is we get another shot of Lexi back at the house, and she's like knocking on the bathroom door. She's like, Cassie, are you okay? Because Cassie has a face mask on, but then it's clear she's been crying because there's just tear marks through the face mask, and she's lying in their bathtub just calling Nate on repeat. It doesn't even ring, and he's got his phone off, right? So it go like every time she calls, it goes straight to voicemail, and she's not even looking at the phone at this point in time. She just hangs up and presses again. Boop, 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 boop. Yep. And there, like in the shot we probably see her call him at least 6 times, and like I don't get calling someone 30, because I think earlier Rue said something about like 70 missed calls from Cassie. He's not, and after the first 15, I will give you. He's not answering. Stop. Like, even 78 texts makes more sense because you could say different things for the person to read
Cassie
later.
wouldn't, but you could.
Yeah. Versus, like, it's not like she's leaving him a message to listen to. She is just calling him on loop in the bathtub. And then while Nate's ignoring her, he's hanging out with his insane mother.
I'd imagine that Cassie is calling Nate because she wants to be the one to break the news, and she thinks that for some reason this is when Nate will finally give her some emotional compassion that
I don't think she wants
of.
to break the news, because I figure she probably texted him also, so I'm assuming the news has been shared to him already. What I think is she's probably looking for him to be like, don't worry, babe, I still want to be together. Even though they weren't really together in the first place.
Beat up Maddie. No, you won't.
No, you won't.
You're scared of Maddie.
Which is fair.
You should be. But yeah, Nate and his mom are getting drunk together at like 10 in the morning.
And she turns out to be awful. Which, like, are we surprised? No.
Which is shocking.
She talks about, like, how he's angry. And he was like, I was mad at Dad. That's different than being angry. And while I appreciate that he's self-aware, He was angry with
Nate
his
was
dad all
angry.
the time because so therefore he was just an angry person because his anger at his dad just motivated everything he did in his life.
Mm-hmm. He was
Ergo.
angry at his dad. He was angry at Maddie. He was angry at that random kid that he almost killed and then falsely sent to prison, and then we don't talk about it anymore. He was mad at Jules.
You know what that
He
all
was
stems
just
from
kind of
being
an
angry at his dad.
angry gay. Yeah, he was an angry guy. Also, his mom goes on this little thing. First of all, she does not know Cassie's name. She's talking about how, is the blonde girl gonna hang around and I like her better than Maddie. I think she says something like, I didn't like the girl, but she didn't deserve to be choked. And he's like,
No, you missed the
me?
worst part. She goes,
There's more?
yeah, right before that, the line before that is how she's saying she appreciated Nate standing. She was like, "That's my boy standing up for his mama." When he
Yeah.
dragged Maddie off in front of a group of people, which that already was bad. And then she
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Yeah, but you didn't have to choke her. But manhandling her in front of the public, that's fine. But why'd you choke
That's
her?"
fine.
And Nate's like, "I didn't choke her." Which, like, Nate, yes, you did.
Yeah,
Just in case you forgot, you definitely
everybody
did.
knows. There was no way anybody else did that to her. There was literally no point in time in which she was alone with somebody else, except for Cassie. But, like, no offense to Cassie, she could not strangle a dandelion.
Oh yeah, we get a shot a little later of Cassie trying to cut herself with like a corkscrew. Because Lexi had to hide all the knives.
Yeah. Also, Nate goes after his mom for acting like a drunk teenager. I don't know if those are her words, his words, or my words, but he's like, Mom, you need to like stop acting like this. I'm like, Nate, first of all, she should stop acting like that. But she just found out that her husband was gay and leaving her and had to watch him pee on the floor in like 15 minutes. I think
And
she's
that he was
allowed
cheating
a
on her
little bit,
regularly.
yeah. I think she's allowed a little bit of a falling apart. But
I
also,
was
if
on
you
her
don't want
side a
your
little
mom to be
bit.
acting like that, don't drink wine with her at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, I said I felt bad for her because it seems like she's trying to handle it, but like it can't be easy. But then she was like, "Man, I really loved when you manhandled your minor girlfriend, who I hate." So then I didn't feel bad for her anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, some of the parents will do something, and you're like, you know what? This can't be easy for you. I feel a little bad for you. And then they're like, choke her out again. And you're like, oh, well, now I
Yeah.
can't defend that.
Um, I mean, but now we're seeing like Nate's kind of jacked up on both sides, you know?
Mm-hmm. Which, not shocking, but I do appreciate that we're not blaming everything on Cal. I do think that it's heavily implied, if not outright stated, that the mom kept the baby or got knocked up, either one, just to kind of trap Cal. Which, I feel like if that were me, I wouldn't do that in the first place. But if I had done it, I would regret it, especially after finding out what kind of person Cal actually is.
Oh yeah, and that's
Which,
doesn't she say that about Maddie? If she was worried Maddie was gonna try and
mm-hmm,
trap Nate with the baby.
yeah.
Anyway, we've
And
been
what
on
she
these
was really
insanity for
saying
too long.
there was game recognizes game. It's not a good game, but
But we've been here for a while. So next we get,
yes.
like I said, I mentioned we see Cassie trying to hurt herself with a corkscrew, and her mom takes it from her. And Lexi's like, well, actually, before that, we get what I think is just hilarious. Lexi's mom is like hanging out in the living room trying to watch her. In her own words, she's trying to watch her millionaire matchmaker in peace. Okay, and Cassie comes into the room and is like, I'm not like, I just want to make it clear, like, Rue made it sound like we were sleeping together the whole time, and we weren't. I would never do that to someone I love. Blah, blah, blah. And and she's like, I'm not the bad guy. And Lexi says, which I said, Lexi goes, you're not the good guy. And
Yeah.
and then Cassie's like, I would never do that to someone I love. We weren't sleeping together the whole time. It only happened after they broke up. And Lexi's mom is like, okay, like, that's not a great argument. It's the principle of the matter. And Cassie's like, what principle? And her mom's like, the don't sleep with your best friend's boyfriend principle. And Cassie's like, that's what I'm trying to tell you, Mom. They weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. God. And then she storms off.
And like, yeah, they were.
First of all, sure, okay, if you want to get technical, they were broken up. How many times had they broken up and gotten back together before?
Yeah, and even like, I
That's
think
one.
according to girl code
two,
or
exactly.
whatever, you're only allowed to go after an ex if you get like explicit permission from your friend who dated the person.
Or if it's
And
like
3, Nate?
or like if it was like an elementary school ex, sure. They broke up like 5 minutes before this happened. In the grand scheme of things, they broke up, and basically the next day, like Cassie was like, "This is free game. We can sleep together." But then we get her sitting in the kitchen with the corkscrew, and Lexi's talking to her, and Lexi's like, "I thought you like didn't like Nate or something like that." And Cassie was like, "That was before I knew him." And Lexi was like, "Haven't you known him for a while?" Because like he was dating her best friend. And Cassie's like, "Not like I know him now," which just means she knows him biblically. I still don't think she knows him, okay? Because he's insane.
Nobody knows Nate. The only person who I'd say knows Nate more is Maddie. I would not say she knows Nate, like,
she
personally.
Knows how he works.
Yeah.
I don't think
Which
Cassie
is entirely different.
Copped on to that. And then Lexi's like, "Oh my God." And Lexi's like, "When did you two start sleeping together?" And Cassie's like, "I don't know." And Lexi's like, "Oh my God, is that why you ratted out Fezco?" And Cassie's like, "No." She pulls another one of those totally believable.
No.
She's so bad at lying. And then Lexi's like, "That's why you ratted out Fez." And she's like, "No, it's not." And then Lexi's like, "Okay, fine then. When did you two start sleeping together?" And Cassie's like, "Well, I don't remember the exact date," which she definitely does. And then Lexi's like, "Okay, well, was it before or after New Year?" And Cassie goes, "I don't remember." And Lexi says something like, for someone so concerned with like the timeline and like the specifics. Because if you remember, just one scene ago, Cassie was very clear. She was like, there was no crossover. And
they were broken up for 2 weeks and 3 days and 20 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lexi's like, for someone so focused on like the dates, I really don't believe that. And then she storms off, understandably upset because because we all thought Cal was going to go shoot Fez. And then, the cops got called. So.
And then, I don't know if this has already happened or is about to happen, but Cassie says the question, who said Nate was a bad person?
That's the next one. Which, real quick, I want to say, I also like to imagine that this whole thing is Cassie sitting in her room stewing, and then she comes up with a different
100%.
argument every once in a while. So, like, she'll come and she's like, "Oh my God, we weren't sleeping together while they were together." And then her mom's like, "Okay, I just want to watch my show. You're not the good guy." And then she storms off, right? And then, like, 20 minutes later, she comes back, and she's like, "And also, what about Rue?"
It's like if you're, 16 and you're dating an 18-year-old and you really want to go... I think we've seen this in a lot of shows. You really want to go to a concert, right? And is so far away that you'd have to be out overnight. And you tell your parents and they're like, no. And then you go back and then 10 minutes later you're like, well, it's a big group of us. And they're like, no. And then they're like, well, we'll get separate hotel room. Like, you have to go back and regroup.
Yeah. But she comes back again and she's like, "And who was it that said that Nate was a bad person? Was it Rue? Because if you want to talk about bad people, let's talk about Rue." Now, we've said what we said about Rue and her bad decision making. In Rue's defense, she was an 11-year-old that was put in charge of taking care of her dying father.
Mm-hmm. And like, also, everyone who's met Nate can be like, that guy's not right. At least Rue, for the most part, has tried to not be a horrible person.
And Rue doesn't doesn't intentionally hurt other people. I think she hurts other people with the things she does to herself. But I don't think, like, Nate has intentionally hurt other people's feelings and
On
bodies.
and physically, yeah, on more than one occasion.
Rue just kind of, when she flips out, might go for the jugular, but for the most part, everything she does is to herself, which then has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And Lexi's mom is like, Rue is a nice girl. And Cassie's like, what am I? And I'm not. Which, like, Cassie, if you need to hear it, no, you're not. But her mom's not going to tell her that. But her mom's like, no, it's just like Rue's had a very hard life. And Cassie's like, no harder than mine or Lexi's life. Rue's dad died and ours just stopped calling. I don't really think we should be comparing.
And, like, we should not be comparing. But also, I don't think the dad thing is the biggest concern with Rue right now. I don't think it has been for most of the entire show.
And,
I'm
like, while the dad thing, like, and, like, I don't even know if Cassie's trying to make this point, but, like, Rue's dad thing explains her drug addiction. And Cassie's dad leaving explains why she did what she did with Nate. But, like, again, the repercussions are different. Rue doing drugs, again, does not have immediate... Like, Rue, like, when Cassie decided to sleep with Nate, there is an immediate effect on other people. Versus Rue deciding to do drugs, it's not like a direct, like, if I do drugs, this is going to hurt my mom. Now, if I do drugs and do drugs too much and overdose, that's going to hurt my mom, which is what happens.
Exactly. Or if I promise to not do drugs and then keep doing drugs, that's going to hurt my mom. Like, if I go and mess around with my best friend's crazy ex-boyfriend, that's gonna leave a mark real quick.
Yeah. Just thinking about it is bad. And then,
and also, like, if you have to go to, like, the trauma Olympics to be able to justify your choice, you're losing.
That's my point. She's, like, sitting there and she's like, what about this point? And everyone's like, this is like, I think this may have been a good point to bring up at a different time, which I think we said in the last episode, like, when Rue got found out and Jules came and told her mom that she was still doing drugs, and she told Jules, like, you love being loved, and, you know, or, like, stuff about the train, like, all that stuff she was saying. I think Rue had a good point, and her problems had merit. Not the time to bring it up. Same thing with Cassie. Like, yeah, obviously your dad not coming and not calling and leaving is sucky and, like, may have led to what happened now. But, like, now's not the time to bring it up when you're trying to justify your, like, just because you can make a link between why you acted the way you did doesn't make it an okay action.
Exactly. And, like, if you knew that your dad, like, impacted you that much, don't sleep with Nate over it.
Even if you didn't, just don't sleep with Nate.
Yeah.
And then, like, also, she's like, it's fine, and, like, she's just trying to convince everyone that it's okay.
Including herself at this point.
But, like, if you thought it was okay, you guys wouldn't have been sleeping together on the DL. You would have been open about it. You would have been a little cautious, perhaps, and, like, you definitely would have been flaunting it. But, like, you wouldn't have been... Like, you can't hide something because you know it's not going to go over well and then be shocked when everyone finds out and it didn't go over well.
Yeah, like, they were intense about making sure nobody knew. Anybody's guess as to why? Surely not, because it's the worst decision somebody could make. Speaking of the worst decision somebody could make, Nate.
Oh, wait. Sorry, there's a few more points Cassie brings up. I just remembered. Cassie says to Lexi, after when she's like, what, Rue's life's no harder than ours. And she's like, and she says to Lexi, and you're just a loser who doesn't have any self-respect, because if you did, you'd stop hanging out with Rue because she treats you terribly. Which, again, another one of those points, which, like, and I'm a supporter of Rue, but, like, yeah, Rue's not necessarily the best friend to Lexi. But, like, not the time to bring it up. Don't say it. First of all, Lexi hasn't said anything to Cassie her entire rant. Lexi's just in the room, and she's like, yeah, and you should drop Rue. And then it just ends with Lexi and Cassie's mom saying to Cassie, I never said you didn't have any self-respect. And Cassie's like, you don't have to. I can feel it. And then she storms off, which, like...
You don't.
You don't. And she knows she doesn't. But like, she didn't have
Yeah,
to
like
drag
if you're
Lexi
gonna
into that.
pick a high horse, pick a better one. I know Cassie doesn't have any, but like
That's the thing, is she's like picked her high horse, but her high horse is so short. She's like really
she picked a
digging deep.
pony.
Yeah, she's digging really deep to get to everyone else. Like I said, just randomly, Lexi, who hasn't said anything this whole conversation, she's like, "Yeah, and you're stupid for being friends with Rue." I mean, perhaps she is, but this is not. This has nothing to do with anything, and that's certainly not nearly on the same level as you sleeping with your best friend's insane ex-boyfriend.
Like, yeah, Rue, bad friend. I think, and we learn this especially in the next episode. When Rue wasn't on drugs, she was a pretty good friend. So like, it's not like she was she was a horrible friend and then it just got worse. She was a pretty good friend, and then some things happened that kind of understandably changed how she was acting. Not it, we're not excusing it, but like understandably, a lot happened.
And if Cassie wants to bring up the whole, our dad left and this decision I'm making is fine, and those two things are related, okay, then Rue being a bad friend is technically quote unquote fine because her dad died and now she's addicted to drugs. There's a clear correlation. We've made it.
Yeah.
You're making it. Why can't Rue make it?
And also, like, if we really want to get to the nitty gritty, Rue's is worse because she has absolutely no ability to reconnect with her father. Guess what? You could run into your dad wherever you probably won't. I am aware of that. He seems to, is pretty content with his abandoning of you. But it is still possible for you to reconnect. Homegirl's dad is just up with Jesus.
Also, you know what, your dad, and funnily enough, your dad and Rue have something in common. And I feel like you should be a little bit more understanding.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get a few more scenes. Not terribly interesting. We see Maddie babysitting. Maddie's obviously sad, which is fair. And she ends up talking to the mom of the kid she's babysitting. And the mom's like, "Oh, that happened to me." And Maddie's like, "Oh my God, your best friend slept with your ex-boyfriend?" And she goes, No, I was Cassie." And Maddie's like, "Don't tell me that. I like you. Please don't tell me that."
And then at the end, the mom says something about how she did it multiple times, and Maddie was like, "You did it to multiple girlfriends?" And the lady's like, No, don't worry.
Oh yeah, and she does have a good line.
You get a point for that.
That I think sums up Cassie. She goes, because Maddie's asked her why she did it, and the girl goes, "He just gave me the right amount of attention at the wrong time," which is exactly what happened to Cassie. Not to jump to Cassie's defense, but that is the one thing I will say. It's just kind of, it was the wrong place, wrong time she was in. And then at the end, Maddie's like, "Did your friend ever forgive you?" And the mom's like, "Oh yeah, no, she never spoke to me again." Which I think is what we should do to Cassie.
Yeah.
But then we get to the best person in the whole show. His name is Fez, and I love him.
Yes.
And he and Lexi, or we jump back to Lexi hanging out at his house, and at the end of their last conversation, they were talking about the movie Stand By Me, and he was like, "My grandma has it on DVD," because of course she does. And Lexi's like, "Should we watch it?" And then they watch it. So now we cut back to them. They finish watching Stand By Me. He's pretending not to cry. The two of them are singing along to Stand By Me. And then he holds her hand. And then I was sad for a while. In a good way.
They're really sweet. And like, Lexi needs somebody who's not insane crazy. And like, it's not a great sign. We love Fez here. It's not a great sign that the neighborhood drug dealer is the most stable person in your life.
Oh, I know.
He has a heart of gold. But also, you should have a mom.
He's just so nice. And then
also, just real quick, I don't think we're supposed to know how old he is, and I think they've definitely aged him down since the first season. But like, he could be 25. He could also just be 18.
I think he's a couple years older than Rue, because I know I know it's been brought up that he dropped out of high school, but I get the feeling like he would have graduated already had he not. You know?
Yeah.
So I do think he's He's definitely in his 20s, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always confused about his age too. And then, so while they're singing Stand By Me, Faye is like G chilling, watching the two of them. Understandably a little, I don't know if she's confused. She's just looking at the two of them. If I were in the house, I'd also probably be looking at the two of them like, what are you doing? And then she goes to take the trash out while it's raining. And her boyfriend is outside. At first I didn't realize that was her boyfriend. I was like, why are you going to this strange man who's he's like standing, because Ashtray has cameras around the whole place, so he's like standing in, and you realize he's standing out of view of the camera, so he's just standing in like this alleyway behind the trash can. And he's like, Faye, come over here. And she's like, what? And
okay.
he starts talking about how like he's like, I'm gonna come over and talk, and I just need you to not say anything, but I'm gonna start talking to Fez one day, and I just need you to just be quiet and don't say anything. And she's like, are you working with the police? And she goes, so are you cooperating with the police? And he goes, I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm helping them out. And I posted this today, so everyone go check it out on our Instagram. It's don't quote us on that. But it reminds me of the Keegan-Michael Key was on SNL, and he did a rap diss sketch where in the song he goes, what, are you mad at me because I talked to the police because I didn't tell the cops nothing? And then he goes, because the cops already knew stuff. I just told them they was right. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what Faye's boyfriend does. He was like, listen, I didn't tell them anything they didn't already know. They already had a whole bunch of stuff about Fez and Mouse, so I just confirmed what they already knew. That's
they just said things and I nodded. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that he's trying to spin it in a light that works best for him. I don't think it's necessarily working.
And Faye's like, what are you insane? And then she goes back inside, and then you see her looking at she looks at, like, she says something to Ashtray, and then she goes and stands in the bathroom, and she kind of like looks out, and I guess she's like looking at Fez. And then him and Lexi are having a little chit chat, and he's like, don't worry, if your play is anything like the movie Stand By Me, it's gonna be great. And she's a little teary, and she laughs, and they have a nice little moment, and then we get to the scariest scene in this entire show.
Nope, actually, then the episode just ends right there. It's crazy.
There's nothing else that happens.
There's nothing else. Actually,
they're so cute.
This one's just a 37-minute episode. So
my note is Nate is insane. I know I've said that, but Nate is insane.
Maddie gets home from babysitting, and she does not see this, but we see Nate, who I believe is on her bed. I'm not 100% sure. But she does not see him.
He's sitting in a chair next to the bed.
In a chair next to the bed, thank you. Nathaniel has a G word, a gun. And Maddie is just going about her business. And then, shockingly, she runs into Nate in her own bedroom where she should not be accosted by a gun. And Nate very nicely is like, hey, Madster, I'd totally appreciate.
Can you imagine? He said that.
He just talks like Donald Duck. He's like, hey, remember me from before? I would love to get that tape back. And Maddie's like, I would love to give it to you.
The worst, so when we see Nate, we come into Maddie's bedroom. And what it is a shot, and half of the shot is like Maddie's like vanity, I guess, with a little mirror. So it's in the mirror we see Nate sitting in the chair. And then the other half is like we're looking a little further into the background of the room, and like she's in the bathroom and she's like putting on her little house clothes. So it's just like real time of her getting dressed and like getting, relaxed to be in her house, and Nate just sitting there staring at her. There's no lights on. It's raining outside. Like, it's just dark in this room.
He is just the most insane.
And she comes out the bathroom, and like we're still seeing him sitting there, and she just doesn't see him till like the very last moment. And like, I just think you showing up before she knows why he's there, someone showing up at my house with a gun for any reason is bad.
I definitely can say with 100% confidence I would not appreciate that happening.
Like, even if he was coming to be like, I'm so sorry, babe. If he had a gun, I wouldn't feel great
I
about it.
I might ask him to vacate the premises.
And then he puts the gun to her forehead and forces her to lay down on the bed. And then he, like, lays over her and then puts the gun to his own head and then starts, like, clicking through the empty chambers. Rounds, yeah, because he asked for the CD and Maddie's like, I don't have it, I don't know what you're talking about. So then he does this and he's like putting it to his head, and then Maddie, understandably freaking out, and she goes, and then she tells him where it is. She's like, it's in my purse. And then he goes and gets it out of her purse, and she's on her bed crying because he just did all of that. And then he's like, I'm sorry, I was joking. You were what?
No, you were not.
He was like, there's no bullets in the gun. How was she
That
supposed to
doesn't
know
make
that?
it. Even if he's telling the truth, which he is not because he never is, that's not a comfort. I would not hear that and be like, "Oh, well then that makes you threatening to not shoot yourself on top of me so much better. Why don't we get back together?" Why, like what did he
Oh my
I
God,
know
I'm not traumatized anymore. Homie, get professional help.
get a therapist.
And then he just leaves.
Yeah, and then he's just like, "Okay, bye-bye. Thanks for the nice chat. See you later."
And then he goes
Poor
to Jules' house
Maddie.
and he calls her, and Jules is like, understandably, I don't want to see you. Oh, I forgot to mention this earlier because I really like this, is Rue's doing her little narration. And she's like, Jules and Elliot, and we get like the shot of Jules curled up on her bed looking sad. And then Rue goes, actually, I don't want to talk about Jules and Elliot.
Yeah.
And then she moves on to talk about Cassie again, which I thought was nice. But now
It's
we're
like,
getting back to
it's
Jules.
bad when you'd rather talk about Cassie.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cassie.
Sorry, Cassie. I do think that like kind of lends to some of the clarity Rue's getting with her withdrawal, though, you know. But then he goes to Jules and he's like, Nate goes to Jules' house and he calls her and she's like, I don't want to come see you, bye. And then she hangs up the phone and he texts her and he's like, I'm out front. It's about you and my dad. You're gonna want to hear this. So then she gets in the car with like a box cutter up her sleeve because as we've established, Nate's insane.
Yeah, and like, no offense, you bringing a box cutter to a car with a singular person should never be the smart decision. Unfortunately,
It was.
Nate's involved, so that is the smart decision.
My
Although,
favorite
don't worry, it doesn't have any blades in it. Like, that makes it better. That's a joke. It probably does.
And she gets in the car and he offers her a car beer. And so I said, I guess he's a gentleman.
He definitely has manners. You could argue that he was taught how to be respectful of women. Taught. Not that he learned it, but that he was taught.
And then he's like, he starts to apologize and Jules is like, I don't want to hear this. And he goes, yeah, but you're going to want to hear what I have to say next. So you're going to have to sit through this. And like, if you have to hold someone hostage to apologize, it doesn't count. It's funny that Eleanor said he's a liar because the scary thing about him is I don't think he ever lies. Like, I was thinking this with the choking thing. He definitely lied then, but also I'm not entirely convinced he hasn't convinced himself that's not what happened.
Yeah, Nate is almost truthful to a fault.
He's kind of like, he's like, I only choked her a little bit. It wasn't that, like, I'm pretty sure he's convinced himself what he did wasn't really choking her.
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't that serious. But like,
it definitely, yeah.
And then he says this to her because at the end he apologizes and then he gives her a little disc and blah, blah, blah. And Jules is like, so are you a good person now? And he's like, oh, God, no, I'm not a good person. And then...
So, like, we love a self-aware king.
Yeah, don't worry. I just jokingly threatened my ex's life 20 minutes ago. So definitely... God, you should have seen what I had to do to get this disc for you.
But here you go. Here's a video of my dad's penis. Remember?
And then as she goes to get out the car, he's like, For what it's worth, everything I ever said was true. Which means like he was in love with Jules, which like we all knew that. But like that's the
Yeah.
worst part about Nate is that everything he said was true.
Yeah, yeah. And then he manages to get even worse.
Which I know you all are shocked and didn't think it was possible. But my man just he believes in testing the limits, you know? Setting the standard.
Setting the standard for crazy behavior. But you know what? At least he's known for something, I guess.
So Jules gets out his car. And Jules tells him while she's in the car, she's like, I brought a box cutter here with me. And he's like, that's smart. That was smart. And then he calls Cassie, who picks up on like the second ring. If I called you more than 10 times, and mind you, Cassie's probably called him about 200 times at this point, and you didn't answer, and then you call me back, I'm not picking up on the second ring. But she did.
She did. Of course she did. We are not surprised that Cassie did. And essentially, I don't remember much of their actual conversation.
No, I just said she seems to think they're like Bonnie and Clyde, like it's the world's against them and they need to shoot their way out.
But,
The
like,
world
Nate
isn't
doesn't even
against
like
y'all.
her very much.
Y'all just suck. And like you all put yourself in that. But if the world is against you, it's your own fault.
It's not so much the world is against you as the world is, they realize that they're not great people and are giving understandable pushback to that.
Yeah, or the world's like, I think this might kill you. Maybe don't do it. And she's like, what do you mean? What? You're oh my
She's
god,
like,
you don't want
that
me to be
sign
happy?
won't stop me because I can't read.
Yeah, how dare you? You don't want me to be happy? You're going to be happy for 5 minutes before you die. But sure, go off. Anyway,
And-
he tells her to pack a bag, and he's coming to pick her up. And then she just moves into his house.
Goes. Yeah. And also, there's one scene where I genuinely think Cassie thinks that this is the height of romance. It's not. But they're talking, and basically, Cassie says, I ruined my life for you. That's your own damn fault.
1, you didn't ruin your life. You just showed everyone you were insane. 2, even if you ruined your life a little bit, he didn't ask you to. He could not have cared less whether you did or whether you live or die, really.
Also, you're 17. You don't really have a life to ruin at this point. Even if it was ruined forever.
And she didn't ruin it for, like, if you think about it, realistic, she didn't ruin her life for him. Like, if you want to take, I ruined my friendships because, like, no one in that friend group is going to take her back, you know?
No.
Because it's not just like, she ruined the friendship with Maddie. It's not like Kat's ever going to talk to her again. But, like, you didn't do that for him. It wasn't like, and it wasn't like you went and purposely ended your friendship so you could sleep with him. You ended your friendships by sleeping with him. You know who you slept with him for? Yourself.
Yeah. Like, Cassie is delusional.
And then she like
And,
hits
like,
him
not
in the chest
even
a few
in the
times,
fun
and then-
way.
And then I guess she's like, that's fair. That's all we need. Now we're living together.
Yeah, just in his house. Nate's just, I appreciate that he does go all in. And now he is the man of the house and going all in on that. I guess in some way I admire that he,
Commit.
has a lot of, he commits. Not to women, but to
to the bit.
himself.
You know how we're like, you need to commit to the bit, and his bit is being insane. He's committed to it.
He truly is. More than he was committed to Maddie or Cassie or anything else in the entire world.
We brought this up early because I always forget this is at the end of the episode. But this is when we get back to Ali and Rue's dinner, which I'm glad because in the last episode I was like, this is fascinating, Rue running around town and evading the police. But like, also, I want to know what's going on because she dropped that bomb about Cassie and Nate, and then we had to watch her run around town. Which, let me tell you, not nearly as entertaining as Maddie threatening to murder Cassie. So, like, I'm glad this episode we got, like, a little bit of Rue. Clearly she's doing better. Not great, but, like, she's on the path to recovery. Let's see what the aftermath of everything else was. So we get back to Rue and Ali and her mom and sister having dinner, and that's when Gia's like, yeah, sure, it'd be great if she gets sober, but, like, is she really going to? And I think we've brought this up before, but I think her wanting to go to rehab makes the difference, because when I watched this the first time, I was like, oh, you would think her going to rehab after her OD, you're like, why are you doing drugs again? But it's not like she volunteered to go to rehab, if she hadn't OD'd, she just would have kept on trucking along doing drugs how she had been.
Or if her 11-year-old sister or not 11, however old Gia was, too young, okay, wasn't at home at that exact same time, she'd just be dead.
Well, I guess you can't do drugs if you're dead.
You know what? Good point.
That's the lesson for this episode, everyone. Can't do drugs if you're dead.
But that's not a good thing. We should clarify.
Are lessons ever good? They're just factual.
You know what? You got me there.
Thank you.
You can't do drugs if you're dead.
Then we get a cute little scene. Gia's like, can I sleep in your bed tonight? And Rue's like, sure. And then I got sad because I can't share a bed with my brother because he's Bigfoot. And I think I'm Bigfoot in training. So we can't comfortably fit in the same bed. But it was very cute. And then Rue says, I feel like I don't know anything about your life anymore. And Gia goes, I'll catch you up when you get back. And then the last part of this episode makes me sad, so we're just going to say the episode ended there.
What's the very last part?
You hear her mom on the phone with the rehab center, and the rehab center is saying they don't have room for her. And then her mom starts crying.
So anyway, and saying that her baby's going to die. Yeah.
The show ends with Rue and Gia going to bed.
Having a nice little moment, and Gia finally getting a hug. And I do believe that next week is the start of the play. But I might also be wrong.
I believe so, because the next episode's called The Theater, and it's double. So I'm going to go out on a limb here.
We will be back probably next week. We're not going to promise that now.
Nope.
With Lexi's play. And it'll be a lot, but it'll be worth it.
It most certainly will. I do think it is. If you thought these were funny episodes, it gets so much better.
So much better. Or so much worse. Just depending on what Kalina has to sit through or what I have to sit through with her.
Yep.
No telling what will come out of our mouths.
No problem with this.
But
we will see you next week.
Yes. I have been Eleanor.
I've been Kalina.
And this has been Don't Quote Me on That.
Thanks for listening and don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.